On the Nature of Human Deaths by OK Department 6802. In the vast expanse of the galaxy, numerous alien civilizations thrived, and every civilization had its own god of death. This god was almost always a gentle presence, a dignified and serene spirit whose duty was to guide the souls of its people to their afterlife. There was Mistreku, the god of death of the Mostia, an aged being who gently guided the fallen to their afterlife. The crystalline Shalan were guided by Hasbrian, a being of pure light. Every species in the universe knew death was inevitable, and when their god came to them, they went to them with the ease of a leaf falling from a tree in autumn. Then there were the human gods and goddesses of death, violent, armored, armed to the teeth with weapons. There was Morrigan with her obsidian blade, Kali with her cackling laugh and dozens of arms holding every conceivable weapon, Yama on his buffalo wielding his mace and noose, somber and brooding Hades, beautiful and deadly Healer, the Grim Reaper with his cloak and scythe. It was an anomaly in the galaxy that one species had so many versions of death, and they were more warriors than guides. So of course, when the humans made first contact with the rest of the galaxy and the other gods met the human ones, there was much talk in the spirit realm. What sort of primitive species was this that they had so many gods of death? And why were they so violent? Why would a guide need a noose or a bident? To the other gods, this was madness. To the uninitiated, human death seemed chaotic, violent even. A meeting was called under the pretext of welcoming the new human gods to the galactic pantheon. But the existing members knew a formal meeting of the gods was so rare that it had happened only 3 times before. Each of the gods came to the chosen venue, manifesting in the calm grace that defined them. All except the human gods, who strode in with weapons in hand, battle-worn and wary. After the initial niceties, Mistreku asked them what was on every being's mind. "Why do you come armed, when your duty is to guide?" Morrigan answered, her hand on the hilt of her blade. "Humans do not go easy into the light. They rage against their passing, fighting us till the very end. That is why we must fight them." "But why would they fight death? Don't they know that we are inevitable?" Kali cackled, her laughter both terrifying and mesmerizing. "Oh, they do. But you need to understand, humanity is a race of warriors. They fight not only enemies, but adversities of every kind. Fighting is in their DNA. How else would they be able to survive and thrive on a death world?" Hasbrian shook his head, still unconvinced. "But why so violent? Why not ease them into the afterlife, as we do with our own charges?" Hades spoke, his deep voice like the rumble of the earth itself. "Because humanity is a paradox, fiercely independent, yet cognizant of their legacy. Humans are mortal, but their legacies are immortal. Humans seldom accept anything at first glance. Life is a battle, and death is surrender, and humans almost never surrender peacefully." Yama added, "And so we fight them, not to defeat them, but to honor them. Not to crush them into submission, but to give them the honor of deciding their death. Each soul that goes into the afterlife is a testament to their will and memories." There was a murmur among the gathering of gods. Some looked confused, some understanding, but none fully comprehending. Mistreku spoke. "We find it hard to believe this. Let us witness this struggle that you speak of." Anubis and Yama exchanged glances. "Are you sure? It will not be like anything you have ever witnessed." The other gods nodded in agreement. With a slash of her blade, Morrigan opened a portal to the spirit realm, a place where gods and souls can exist together. Meet John. He is a simple man who has lived on Earth all his life. He has lived a long and meaningful life. The alien gods looked at John's soul, expecting the gentle transition they were accustomed to. Morrigan stepped forward, her voice kind but her sword drawn. "John, it is time." But John's soul did not move toward her. It retreated into itself, and they heard its voice, equal parts commanding and pleading. "No, not yet. I have more time." Then it took the form of a man who looked Morrigan up and down, and then at himself. Kali's eyes narrowed, and she grinned. "Oh, now the fun starts." Morrigan gripped her sword tighter. Even as the other gods watched, the soul began to change and morph. From the very essence of his being, John forged a sword and shield, glowing with his memories. The other gods recoiled. How was this even possible? And then the dance started. John charged at Morrigan with a roar, his sword and shield clashing against her obsidian blade. The clash sent ripples through the very fabric of the spirit realm, enough to attract other gods to see what the issue was. The other human gods watched, weapons ready, but not joining the fight. This was Morrigan's fight, for now. John fought with desperation, his every blow containing the full force of his life, his love, his memories. He struck and parried, all the while trying to subdue Morrigan. Morrigan, for her part, met him with skill, speed, and strength. But the warrior gods among the audience noticed that she was striking not to wound or destroy him. She was taking part in this dance only to guide him through the battle. But even Morrigan could not withstand his strikes for long. Just as she was pushed back, Callie jumped in. "Let us dance," she laughed, her hands a flurry of every weapon conceivable. John received a few blows on his shield, but it was obvious that he was at a disadvantage. Then, as the other gods watched, something unimaginable happened. The sword and shield in John's hands disappeared and were replaced by a pair of curved scimitars, perfect for parrying Kali's blows. They moved seamlessly to counter every attack from Kali. Kali, wild as she was, fought with unrestrained glee, the deadly dance punctuated by her laughter. He pushed back with all his might, forcing her to retreat momentarily. "You are magnificent," Kali shouted, even as her weapons clashed against his. "Fight, John, fight with everything you have." This dance went on and on, John raging against every god who came to guide him. But the gods could see John's spirit weakening, yet still, he struggled. It finally took Morrigan and Yama working together to bring him down. The human gods circled him, weapons ready, but faces filled with respect and kindness. "It's time to rest, John. You fought well," said Morrigan. Kali, the wildness now replaced by kindness, knelt beside him. "Oh, you are a worthy opponent, John. I loved our battle, but it is time to rest, child." John looked at each of them, and for a moment it seemed he would start fighting again, but something changed. He smiled. "Yes, I suppose it is time," he told Morrigan. She held out her hand again, and this time he took it. He embraced Morrigan, and she hugged him back, the warmth and kindness in the gesture, a stark contrast to the violence in their clash earlier. Yama placed a hand on his face, as a father does to his son that he is proud of. "You were amazing, John, in life and in death." "Look after my descendants," John asked, "and when their time comes, guide them as you guided me." Yama nodded. "I will watch over them, John. Your legacy will not be extinguished." Next, he turned to Kali. "Will you tell me the stories of my ancestors?" Kali laughed, not out of spite or mockery, but in joy. "Oh, John, you will hear their stories and you will tell your own. You will be welcomed with open arms." John smiled. The human gods guided him toward the light, hands around him, and laughing and smiling like a group of friends rather than adversaries or even guides. With a look back at the gods, John entered the light. When the human gods turned back, they found the other gods watching, surprised at what they had witnessed. Asleas, the god of the ocean-dwelling Lithrians, asked, "Is it always this violent?" Yama smiled. "It usually is. Humanity is a stubborn race. Every spirit is a warrior, and that is why we carry weapons, not to cow them into submission, but to honor them by giving them their last battle." John strode into his afterlife, undefeated and in the company of his friends. Anything else would have dishonored his fighting spirit. The alien gods nodded in understanding and profound respect. One by one, they took their leave, their minds filled with the strange and powerful knowledge they had gained. As they faded from the ethereal plane, the human gods remained, their weapons still at the ready, prepared for the next soul who would challenge them. For they knew that every battle was a testament to life itself, and that sometimes even the gods of death must concede to the indomitable will of a human soul. And when that time came, they would retreat with respect, knowing that the next encounter would be one of honor, challenge, and ultimately a final embrace as old friends. The end. Like and subscribe for more content.